Alright, well, we're going to give this a shot. Baked Baker, episode 1. Gonna make some bread. So, first things first, water. Heat it up. So start with that. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Here we go. Should be a cup and an eighth is what we're aiming for. Although, to be honest, I don't usually get too excited about making sure it's perfect. It's just one of the many little aspects of the dough that we'll feel for differences, and it's always going to be different depending on like the temperature in your kitchen, the temperature in the day, the season, the humidity levels, etc. So I don't get too excited about measuring it perfectly. I just make sure it's in between the 1 and the 1 1/4. Something in the middle there, good. 1 minute in the microwave. You're shooting for something in the neighborhood of 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Anything really from 100 to like 112 is probably okay. You don't really want it to get too warm. I'm actually, even as I think about it, I think I'm actually gonna take it out. So this is only 45 seconds. It's been cold here. This is early spring, so a minute has been what's been needed, but it's a little warmer today, and I don't want to overdo it. Nope, a minute would have been right. That says 97. Whatever. I'll put it back in for its 15 seconds. I got excited. Okay, so you don't want it to be too hot though. If it's too cold, it'll just take a long time for your yeast to do its thing, but if it's too hot, you'll kill it. So that's the thing you don't want to do. In the summer, I'll bump it down to probably like 40 seconds, maybe even 30 if it's really hot, because the water that's in my filter is going to be warmer. The little glass measuring cup is warmer. Like, everything's warmer. In the winter, it takes at least a minute, if not like a minute and a half. But whatever. Warm water. To that, yeast. This is just the regular active dry yeast. This is not the instant stuff. If you use the instant stuff, you have to put it into the like flour mix itself. If you use the active stuff, then you have to activate it, which is what we are going to do. So each of the yeasts is going to get 2 sugars. That's how I kind of think of it. So I'm going to do 1 tablespoon of sugar. I always put the sugar in first, just to make sure that the water is sugary before the yeast even hits it. And I figure it's that one last little safety to maybe cool it down just a hair in case it got too warm anywhere. So then half a tablespoon of yeast. And we're gonna mix that up all the way till can't see any little chunkers in there anymore. If you watch like European baking videos, they almost always have these cute little tiny whisks that they use for this job. And those gals really get it. They like freaking whisk the shit out of it for a moment. But they use a different kind of yeast over there. It's like a little cake. It looks like kind of like dried Play-Doh or something. It's kind of weird. Okay, so this needs to hang out for 5 minutes until it gets foamy. Maybe I'll put it somewhere where you can see it a little bit. That might be fun. See what it's doing. Anyway, so while that's kind of in the way, isn't it? Is this better? Oh fucking no. All right, oh no, that covered up the fucking ugly ladder in the corner because I'm working on my kitchen still. Oh Lord. Okay. 5 minutes there. So at 9:57, this is going to be done. While that's going, I'm going to get the rest of everything together. So, bowl, flours, and we need, okay. This is annoying. Okay. Bowl. We've got bread flour, and we've got some whole wheat flour. Well, my whole wheat flour is actually in here because I haven't opened the bag yet. So, what I do, this is going to be a pain in the butt. One moment, need a measuring cup. The 1 cup measuring cup is needed, or something equivalent to that. So, and this is just going to be 1 loaf. This is just going to be 1 loaf of whole wheat bread. That's all that it is. It's derived originally from a French baguette recipe, and it's one that I have tweaked and fuckered with for my tastes, and to incorporate the whole wheat flour. So, I used to think that when you make whole wheat bread, you only used whole wheat flour like that. I just thought that's how yours, like I thought that's what whole wheat flour or whole wheat bread is. But turns out that's not the case. If you use only whole wheat flour, I mean you can, but you end up, it just has such a different texture, and it ends up, you're always kind of fighting it being like dry. It's not a lot of fun, honestly. It's not very good to eat. And it's, I don't know, maybe it's good for you, I guess. It's way more expensive also, because this whole wheat flour is more expensive. Which is stupid. I feel like I should be paying less for it, but it's like you're processing it less. Why the fuck is it more expensive? Oh, that's a nice view for y'all. Alright, so what I'm trying ineptly to do, because this goddamn bag tore, which makes things real fucking dumb. Alright, I'm gonna do 1 cup of whole wheat flour in here. Typically this is freaking easier. I've got less than a half a cup in there. I'm gonna try to measure this without making a goddamn mess. Now that is over a half a cup. So hopefully between the two, this is how I like to store my flour, because this way the bag is being protected from getting moved in and out of the so you're not like rubbing the bottom off. And I used to just keep the flour in these bags, but I don't think that's really that great of an idea, because I think you're ending up with microplastics happening in there more than you need, which they're everywhere. They're even in, like, apparently they're in, like, human fetuses these days, which is fucking insane. But try to limit the plastic, says the person who's measuring flour with a plastic measuring cup. Okay, 1 cup of bread flour. So we're doing equal parts of wheat flour and bread flour to start. In the end, this is gonna, the whole wheat part is gonna make up for about a little less than 1/3 of the total flour. Again, this is a baked baker. This is not Alton Brown. I am not getting into the science or the exactness of this. I'm trying to explain how to like feel this and how to just do it without getting yourself worked up with math and measurements and scales and all of that happy horse shit. Because I don't know about you, but I don't fucking want to fuck with that. I just want bread. Done. So, gonna leave the measuring cup here in the flour. And now to this, I've been chatting. It's 9:57. Gotta get moving. To this, oil and salt needs to be added. And this is all of the oil and salt that's gonna go into the bread. It's reasonably healthy, I think. I mean, healthy-ish. It's probably better than the shit you get at, you know, the store. It's got a bunch of dough conditioners and preservatives and shit like that. So, half a tablespoon of salt. This is just regular iodized sea salt. This isn't kosher salt or anything. So, if you're using kosher salt, I don't remember if it's more or less that you have to use, but if you're using kosher salt, you should probably be aware of that. And then 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And that's it. That's all that's going in there. So, again, you know, pretty, like, not bad for you. I don't put any sugar or anything in there. I have, in the past, done that before. Like, a 1 tablespoon of sugar can be nice. I don't do it anymore just because I haven't found it to be really necessary. But this is the point where you could customize it if you were so inclined. If you wanted to add herbs or spices or sugar or like cinnamon and raisins or, you know, whatever you like, whatever kind of bread you're aiming for, this is the point where you can do that. You can also just make this with just the bread flour if you want, and just put in 2 cups of the bread flour and the oil and salt, and it'll be just as good. So we're just moving this. I don't fucking know. Can you see this? Should I switch it around? Probably should switch it around. Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's fucking awful. I don't know. Alright, well, whatever. Look like this. No big chunkies. And then this. All beautiful, foamy. You're going back there. Whew. Like and subscribe so I can get some decent equipment. So, to this is going in here. All of it. Every little bit of it. It's going to make this little fun raft. Watch this. Whoop. Okay. So that whole thing into here. Get our spatula. And we're getting all of this out of here. Now at this point, you can tell if your yeast is no good or if, well, if you didn't get any foam, then you did something wrong. But in my experience, store-bought yeast really wants to do its thing. It's pretty hard to not have it do its thing. But whatever. So, I'm going to try to hold it so you can see it? I don't know if it's going to work or not. So we're going to stir this. And it's going to be pretty wet. It's going to be very wet at this point. And we want that. That is on purpose. So this is roughly 2/3 of the flour, right? And it's all of the liquid of the recipe. So what you end up with, alright, I'm putting you down now because I need to be able to get in here. What you end up with is a really loose dough, very loose dough, on purpose. I bet that sounds nice. And the point is that because this is only 2/3 of the flour part of the recipe and all of the liquid part, we're able to really mix this and incorporate this well without stressing the flour and forming too much gluten. You do want some gluten in your dough. That's why you need it. I feel like there's a pun there somewhere, but I'm going to leave it alone. Anyway, that's why you need it to develop those yeast, those gluten strands. But if you do it when there's too much flour, you make it tough. And that's how you end up with hockey puck bread. So, mixed all the way, then, only then, we're going to add the rest of the flour. Something in the neighborhood of 1 cup to 1.5 cups. And the reason I'm so vague about it is because this is where it comes together. This is where you're going to be able to determine how much more flour it needs. So this is the big thing that gets a lot of variation with temperature and humidity and time of year. If it's really cold and dry in the winter, you might find that you don't really need to add that much flour. It's like already just kind of dry, and you just kind of add maybe the cup, and then that's it. In the summer, sometimes when it's like hot and humid, sometimes you have to add, you know, the full cup and a half to get it to like not be a sticky fucking mess. So at this point, you probably can't really see this very well. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get a GoPro or something at fucking some point. Anyway, what you're doing is you're just pressing this around. Pretend you are a dough hook and just keep moving it around. Definitely recommend the wooden spoon for this. Okay. But I prefer this method. Of course, you could have dumped this out on your counter. You could get in there and knead it and stuff. But in my experience, that's, I think, a lot of what people avoid about making yeast dough. It's like they picture their fingers all covered in flour and shit. And they're like, fuck that noise. I don't want to, you know, make that mess. I have to clean my counters and everything else. I understand that. So I have developed this to be done all in the bowl. Completely in the bowl. Because I prefer to eliminate the mess side of it. I think to me that's what makes this like a practical thing to do. Or like a doable thing to do. I've been making this bread at least once a week, if not twice a week. Sometimes it's twice. Usually it's once. But at least once a week for almost 2 years now. So, and it's really not been that big of an inconvenience. So I've scraped everything down, and I've got this kind of like wet dough baby in the middle, but it's like covered in the flour that I sprinkled over top of it. And now I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna try to show you this again if I can. Ugh. All right, I'm gonna get in there, and I'm gonna come around the bowl, picking up some of that flour, and I'm gonna turn it and press it. This is not gonna freaking work with my little bangles. So I'm pulling from the side and pressing down with the heel of my palm. So, and then with my other hand, my non-dominant hand, I'm rotating the bowl. So it's a two-handed movement. You're bringing it around, turning it, pressing it, and you're just bringing that floury bit into the dough. And it shouldn't be sticking to your hands very badly at this point. If it is, then you should probably sprinkle some more flour. Oh, I just flipped it over, so it was starting to feel a little like it was giving me a little resistance, and you don't want that. You don't want that. You want to feel the way it's feeling and feel how it's absorbing the flour. And if it starts getting too, like I've had it happen before where I got too excited with the flour and I put in too much. Pause. I need to add more flour because this is starting to get too sticky. Just a hair too sticky. But I've had it happen before where I put in too much flour and it gets really starts to feel just, you know, angry and like tough, and you have to rescue it and pull it out of there. I've had to pull it out of there before, put it on the counter, throw the extra flour away. So it's better to do that than it is to like put in all of the flour and then you're fucked. That's why I cringe when I see recipes where they're just like, yeah, take 3.5 fucking cups of flour, pour all of your yeast in the middle, and start it until it's a ball. I'm like, yeah, that's gonna be some nasty fucking bread. That is gonna be the most firm, gross shit ever. Now, you can definitely tell it's warmer and more humid today. I'm having to go back in for even more, this time just a sprinkle. So the way I'm determining is if I need more is when I'm pressing on it, if it's leaving some dough on my palm. If it's leaving dough on my palm, then it's too wet. And I need a little bit more flour. So the goal is to be able, I know, Bubba, is there a squirrel out there? Sorry, friendo. No, we're not squirrel chasing at the moment unless it's on the deck. Is it on the deck? No, it's not on the deck. Okay. Cool your jets, friend. No, sorry, I'm doing a thing here. Okay. So, the goal is, no, honey, I'm sorry. Go on. Go on. Go on. Thank you. Go man your post, please. Okay, I love you. Thank you. So, the goal is to get a dough where you can touch it and it's not, nothing's coming off onto your hand. That's the goal. It should not be dry and floury. It should be smooth and soft. And if anything, you want to err a little bit on the sticky side. See how this is like, it sticks, but it doesn't like really come off on my palm. There's like tiny, tiny, tiny little bits. My hand stuck on it a little bit more. Honestly, I could add a smidge more. I guess it's pretty freaking minute today. It's gonna be, it's May right now, beginning of May. And I think it's supposed to be like 70 something today. It's rained a little bit, so I don't know. But I guess it's pretty humid. Okay, so now we're getting to a good spot. So I can, to finally get a feel for it, I can like roll it in on itself. See how I'm doing that? I'm taking like, think of it like a skin, right? Like it's the skin of the outside that I'm like rolling in to the middle. So I'm like moving it with this hand and folding it with this hand. This is like a hand kneading method. Again, you're welcome to use your counter. I just don't like the mess of it. So, beautiful dough ball goes there. Padding is optional. I like it though. And then we're gonna okay. Well, whatever. Okay, this needs to go similar-ish and draft-free to the rest. Inside of the oven is the go-to, I suppose, the norm, maybe. I like to cover it with one of my pot lids because I don't like using plastic wrap for this. So I cover it with a pot lid. That works for me. Even though it has the vent hole, it doesn't matter. You can cover it with plastic wrap if you want. I don't want to use the plastic if I can help it. So, 1 hour in the oven. And I am going to so the oven is off. All I did was turn the light on and shut it. If it's cooler, like I have been running the oven at like the lowest temperature, so I just flip it on. For mine it's 170 Fahrenheit. I just flip it on and let it get like halfway through the preheating cycle and then just turn it off, just to kind of like take the chill out of the air. Today I didn't do that because, again, yeah, warmer. So, alright, that's going to rise for an hour and then we'll be back. Alrighty friends, it has been 1 hour and our dough, we're gonna take a look at it, see what we're looking like. The goal, of course, is that it's doubled in size. Looks very nice and pretty, super soft. I can punch it down if I am so inclined. Oh yeah, there's nice bubbly air in there. It's good stuff. Okay, so sorry for the noise. It probably doesn't sound very nice with my crappy setup. I moved the rack of my oven back up into the middle, and I turned the oven on. For my oven, 385 Fahrenheit is what works. 375 I think is what, excuse me, the recipe originally called for. But my oven tends to run a little cold, like before it can catch up, sort of. So it runs cold at the beginning and then it'll like overcompensate and get too warm. But this is a pretty short bake. It's 28 minutes about. So yeah, 385 is what I set it to. This is just some vinegar water. I'm just making sure that my counter is as clean as it can be, because I am going to use the counter now to roll out the dough. So, take our beautiful dough baby and let it flop out. I neglected to address this on the first part, but definitely do not oil the dough. I know you see that sometimes in recipes. They coat the dough ball in oil before rising. That is, well, in my opinion, it's unnecessary. It's also going to add a lot more oil to the dough. Remember, we only used 1 tablespoon in the entire thing. So, you know, you could easily add an additional tablespoon or 2 just by pouring it over the top. So it's unnecessary. 1 momentito. I have to go grab my measuring, or my rolling pin, which is in my living room right now because I'm working on my kitchen, which is why, yeah, a moment. Okay, rolling pin, back to the oil on the dough. So, the oiling of the dough is not a good or necessary thing when you are making a loaf of bread. Now I'm taking this rolling pin and I'm just gently-ish mooshing it into a rectangle shape. Now you might be like, oh my god, you're mushing out all of the air in the dough, which is not a bad thing. Oh, sorry. To finish the oil situation. So when you oil the outside of the dough, you will never get that dough to stick to itself ever again. So if you oiled it and then rolled it out like this, and then rolled it into a loaf, you would end up with like swirly pull-apart bread, which might be fun, but obviously that's not going to work for like Sammy's and fucking toast and shit, so that's why I'm not doing it. So, roll it out. Like I said, pushing the bubbles out is actually a good thing. What that's going to do is that's going to force the yeast and the glutens to regrow themselves, and that's going to make them more strong like bull, which we don't want it to actually be strong like bull, but we want it to be, and we don't want it to be crumbly, right? That's the opposite side of the strong like bull, is the like crumbliness, and we don't want that because again we're not making biscuits, we're not making quick bread, we're making bread. Non-stick pan, you still gotta spray them, in my opinion. You can certainly try to put it in there without the spray, but you will be cutting your bread free from your pan. I don't want to do that. So, spray the pan just a little bit, and then you can see my nice rectangle. I think I paused it. Sorry, I pushed a button and I paused it. Anyway, nice rectangle of dough. You can see about how big it is. Sorry, my hand shakes, so I'm holding my phone up like that. And then we're going to roll it this short way. If I was turning this into a baguette, I'm going to cook it on just on a sheet pan, which you can totally do. Then I would roll it the other way. But since I'm going to make a loaf of bread, it's going to go in the loaf pan. I'm gonna roll it the short way. So this is however big this is. You can see up against the loaf, whatever. You can't see. Anyway, you can probably get the idea. So we've got these ends, these little swirly ends. We're going to pinch these up into themselves. This is going to be like the butt of the bread, besides the ends of the bread. So we're going to go ahead and mush those up, and see how nice this dough is. It's not sticking to my hands, it's not sticking to the counter. Like, that's what we're looking for. And then we're just going to go ahead and go along this seam here, pinch, 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 and that's it. And then when you've got your nice little sea cucumber of dough, then I'll put it in to the pan and just scooch it around till it has a nice little spot there. Then I'm going to take it and put it, move the pizza tray from last night. Go here, pizza tray. That's going to be fun. Wow, this is a good view. You guys are getting on the floor and the dirty counter, or the dirty stovetop. So this is where I'm going to put it, right here, where the hot humid air from the preheating of the oven comes out. This is going to be a quick second rise. So for most yeast, maybe all yeast recipes, you'll see the first rise and then the second rise. And the second rise is usually shorter. Sometimes it's the same length. Depends on what it is. Please don't fall on your face. Thank you. But the second rise is going to help your bread be lighter and drier and cook all the way through. So the reason that I like to rush the second rise is because I prefer that like moist, toothsome kind of like bread, you know, where it's like almost feels like it's slightly underdone, but it's not actually, like, it's not actually doughy. It just has a like nice moistness to it. How many times can I say moist in one freaking segment? So, just gonna do its second rise, and I'm really just gonna let it go until the oven is preheated. You'll probably hear me say a lot of times that like waiting until the oven is preheated is not necessary for a lot of things that we're gonna cook, hopefully, together. But this is one of the things that you do want to make sure that the oven is preheated. And again, this is part of why I do it at 385 when in fact I'm aiming for 375, because it's not even going to be 375 when I go to put the bread in. It's probably going to be less because my oven is stupid. But get yourself an oven thermometer and just kind of, all the ovens are going to be different. You got to work with the one that you have, and this is going to take probably some trial and error. So the whole reason why I'm kind of like talking through all of this and not just making like a short or a TikTok or something where it's like, here's how you make it, is because I want to try to help other home cooks understand how to do this, like to work out how to make it perfect in your space with what you have, with your ingredients for your tastes. So maybe start with this and then tweak from that point. That's what I would suggest. So oven is preheated. You can put this away and pause for a moment, and I shall be back when the oven is heated up. Okay, so the oven is preheated. Well, it's a good view of the tips. Okay, oven's preheated. Coming over here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see very well or not. I promise I'll get better equipment at some point. So this is our bread. It's had its, Lord have mercy. Okay. Come here. This is our bread. It's had its second rise. Oven's preheated. Now, we're going to take a knife, sharp knife, not a serrated knife. Doesn't really matter what kind of knife it is, just not a serrated one. And we're going to just draw the blade across the dough. Notice I didn't do this at the beginning. You don't want to do this before the second rise because too much air will escape from the dough. You also don't want to skip this bit because it's important. Those little slits, they're not just for decoration, although they look really cute. They actually help the air escape out of the dough in a more even way, and it makes it rise in that like even loaf shape. So if you skip it, you're gonna end up with like a blobby loaf, which will still taste good, it just won't look nice. So this is water, clean water in a spray bottle with the misty setting, and we're gonna spray the dough, all of the dough, not crazy amounts, but enough. Put this right in the middle of the oven, and I'm going to set you down so that I can do this into the hot oven. Spray, spray, spray. Shut the door. Okay. Just a moment. Let me set the timer and I'll explain what I just did. So I'm going to set it for 28 minutes. The last time I cooked this, I did it for 30. When I would make it as a baguette, I would do it for 26 minutes. So I'm going to try 28 because the last time I felt like it was just a hair more cooked than I wanted it to be. I guess I'm kind of picky. I'm a picky bitch about it. I like it to be really, like, whatever, soft and delicious. So the spraying, the water spraying, that's another thing that you can omit if you would like, but I don't really see any reason to do so. So that spraying, that water, is what will allow our bread to get that nice brown golden crust to it. Professional baking ovens, they actually have like steam functions where you would like put your whole, racks of dough breads in there, and then you would turn the oven on, you'd hit the steam function, and it would steam up the whole inside of the oven. And that's what makes bread have this like really nice golden crust. So if you leave it off, I don't know really if it's going to affect the flavor that much. I would guess that it probably will, but maybe not a huge amount. But it'll definitely affect the way it looks. It'll look kind of like gray and ugly. Is bottom line what it'll look like. So not the end of the world, but not the nicest thing ever either. So yeah, it's gonna bake, and we'll be back when it's done. I'm gonna do some dishes. Walk the dog. See ya. Okay. Technical difficulties here. I'm trying to get my phone to not fall on its face. Excuse me if it does. It has been 28 minutes. I'm gonna get my bread out of the oven. So I'm turning the oven off. If you're doing this for the first time, leave it going until you check it. I'm turning it off because I know it'll be done, because I've made this enough times. So, ta-da! Here's our lovely breads. Oh, shit. Put it down. Some hot pads. Okay. So, I want you guys to see this and hear this. This part's important. So this is what it should look like when it's done. Some variation of this. See this browning? That's from the water. Now, listen to this. Do you hear how hard that is? That's what you're aiming for. Not only does it sound hard, but it also sounds kind of hollow. And that sound is what you're looking for. God, I need a freaking better setup. This is horrible right now. Can you not? Jeez Louisers. Cheese and rice. Okay. My life. So, drying rack. Next thing. Not strictly necessary, but I think it's a good thing to have if you're going to bake really much of anything. And we're going to pop this out immediately. The reason why the drying rack is good is just because it's going to allow for just free airflow, and if you were to put this on like a plate or a rack or something like that, it would just make a steamy, soggy bit, which is not what you want. But at the same time, I don't want it to stay in that pan because it'll just cook more than it needs to. So with bread, as soon as it's done baking, you want to let it dry and cool like this. This is really important if it's going to be like your bread for the week. If you're going to eat it all in one shot, if you're like serving it with soup or something like that, it's probably good to go right now. In fact, you'd probably want to, get to slicing it and having it right away. Maybe give it like 5 minutes or something like that, but other than that, you just go for it. But what's going to happen with that is that the moisture from the water from the dough, which we have to remember, I'm probably going to talk about this a lot, but all cooking, all baking is about manipulating the water in food. Bottom line. So the water in the bread, which is what makes it nice and moist and not like a crouton, is going to escape fast when it's hot. So if we were to cut this into like slices immediately and like lay the slices out, they would be some dry ass breads in no time. If we let it cool to room temperature-ish like this with its crust intact, some of that moisture is going to escape, certainly, but a lot of it is going to stay in here. And even when I start to eat on this bread, after I slice it, I'll keep it in a plastic bag, but I set it to where the cut end is the only end that's sitting on itself. Like inside the bag, it's going to sit like that. And then the crust of the bread, the whole rest of the bread, sticks up, and the bag over it with like a hole in it, because I don't have a bread box. You don't want to like seal it. If you seal it, it's going to like make humidity in there and you're going to mold. This way it'll dry out, but not as much as you think. And like even just the ends of the bread when they're a week old, not bad. Not bad at all. Spritz them with a little water, 20 seconds in the microwave, and it's like as soft and nice as it was when you first made it. So the super hard noise that we heard on the outside, that's going to dissipate a lot after you let it sit. So that's another thing. If you prefer it to not be super crusty, just let it sit for a little while and you'll be amazed at how much this will like re-soften up. I think that's because of the water, the steam, evacuating out of the bread through all of this crust, so it just kind of rehydrates it just the perfect amount. So I know I've kind of went on about this, but I think it's important, again, if you're going to have a bread that's not going to mold, because you have to remember, we didn't put any of the stuff, the preservatives that go into commercial bread into this. This is as simple as you can make it. So as such, we have to rely on our intelligence and cleanliness and knowledge of what's happening to make sure that bread is safe. Now, I think you can eat a little bread mold, and I don't think it'll kill you. I don't know that for sure, but it doesn't taste nice. Nobody wants that. You're gonna give up on it. I feel like you're gonna just be like, this is stupid. The baked baker is high and doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. Which, true for the first part. I hope not true for the second part. So we're gonna see what we're gonna see. Anyway, this is done now. This can cool, and after it's cooled for a while, I'll come back, slice it, show you what you got, and that'll be all she wrote. Alrighty, if you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching the inaugural episode of this crazy thing that I would like to try to put out into the world. Our bread is cooled and we're ready to take a look at it. So it's way softer than it was before. Remember how like crunchy it was? It's still, I mean, my nails can still make that sound on it, but look at how squashy it is now. It's really nice and squashy. I wish there was smell-o-vision. Not to toot my own horn, but boop boop. Smells fucking amazing. So I'm gonna cut a little bit of it, have a little bit of it. Haven't eaten yet today. Had some coffee this morning, but was wanting some bread and needed to bake some. Didn't have any more left. So cutting board, bread knife. I think a bread knife's important for cutting bread. You could use a serrated knife like a steak knife in a pinch, but bread knives are nice. They usually come with most knife sets. And I use them for things that aren't bread sometimes too. Okay, so there she bees. I'm gonna do the YouTube squish. I feel like every baking everything, they always just like squash it a bunch. Because it's, I don't know, I suppose like you can't really demonstrate how nice and lovely your bread is. Like just, oh. Like it doesn't, I don't know. Like I guess the squash is the only thing you can do, but it's tasty. It's good. It's good shit. We did it right. The other thing I like about this bread, the way that it comes out, is that it can be sliced really thin. I grew up eating homemade bread. My mom always made bread in the bread machine, but she would always cut it like fresh out of the thing because she would serve it with like dinner. So she'd always cut it in these big slices, big thick slices. And so I have like memories of, you know, like sometimes, like I was homeschooled and a fucking nerd, but anyway, but like I have these memories of like going to like whatever functions and having these like big gigantic sandwiches, you know, with like a little bit of PB&J and like these big ass breads and getting like made fun of for it. And that's it. I don't know. I mean, I laugh, but it's not really like a happy memory. So my point is, making homemade bread, I don't want to like, I would never want anybody to feel like they're getting anything less than something purely wonderful. And so to me, I think that means that you have to be able to slice it thin, because sometimes you want thin slices for certain things. Maybe you don't want to like have a weird ass looking sandwich. So my point is, you can even, this has not been very long out of the oven. I don't know exactly how long it's been, 20 minutes maybe. But see how nice and thin I can cut that if I am so inclined to do. It's like, you wouldn't really need to make a sandwich out of that, but like, looks pretty amazeballs to me. And that's my point, is like, I like making bread that's nice. See, like this is, it doesn't come apart. See, like you can see a slight seam. This is a seam from where it's rolled. But because we didn't do the oil, it's not really wanting to like come apart. Like I'm fucking with this hardcore right now. Like I am super thin. Like this is whatever. I don't know. A 1/4 inch? Something like that. It's pretty thin. So it's really good. I think it's really good, personally. My taste. Try it. Let me know in the comments. I would really, really be excited if anybody, well, A, watches this video, B, tries it, C, likes it, comments, all that shit. I'd love to hear about it. I don't know, I'm just kind of a goofball, but I don't know. The world sucks right now. And I feel like food always brings us together. Food is such an equalizer. And I don't like getting food from I mean, of course I get my ingredients from a store, but I prefer to make stuff myself from scratch if I can. But, like I said, I'm not Alton Brown. So I don't like the, you know, I mean, I respect the math and the science of it. I'm not trying to be like a fucking crazy person that's just like, fuck science. No, 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 no. 100% not. That's just that in my daily life, with the brain capacity that I have, with the energy levels that I have, with the motivation that I have, I don't have it in me to do the like hardcore science and math and scaling and all of that. And I don't even think it's actually like the way to go when it comes to bread. When you watch like Parisian master bakers, because I watch that on YouTube, super fun to watch, but when you watch them, they don't get real into it either, because there's such variation in your daily temperatures and humidity levels and the ingredients that you happen to be working with. So there's no point in like measuring it exactly every time, because you're not going to be making this in like a fucking clean room or something, you know? Like, you're not making this in a vacuum. You're making this in your house, in your environment, with just like regular store-bought ingredients. So the variation is a constant. It's going to be there. Thus, I think getting bent out of shape about the exactness is ridiculous. Completely unnecessary. So, rant over. I'm going to get a bag for the bread so it don't dry out too much. I've got, this is the one from the last bag that I watched, but I want to make sure it's all the way dry. So, bread, cut end towards the like seam of the bag. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this. So here's the opening of the bag. I had it folded over because it was drying. Here's the opening of the bag, and the bread's gonna sit like that in there. And I'm going to seal the top because heat rises, and I want to make sure that not too much of the moisture comes out of this. After a day, or probably tonight, I'll fold this little corner so it doesn't accidentally shut itself. I'll probably put the opening at the top and then just set it there on the corner. And that's how it's gonna live for the week and be really nice. So if you come past if you like look at your bag and it's filled with steam or something like that, that's no bueno. You want to rescue your breads from that immediately. Just like before we talked about it, that steam on the bread, it's gonna cause mold. So here's my little breads. Some more dishes to do. Some butter. And no knife, because my kitchen is apart still. Doing all this by myself, the remodeling, so it's taken a little while. Ooh, I just flipped y'all off. Sorry, unintended. Oh, you can't see that. It's nice. It's better. Oh, maybe I'll just turn on the counter so you can see. I don't know. Seems ridiculous. I'll have to get a better camera set up. Full show. Horrible. Okay, terrible. Come here. You can see it. Oh, I can't do it, but you can see. Watch the ice skating. The ice skating plate. Lordy Lou. You get the point, though. It's nice. Y'all have had, well, I don't know. Actually, I take it back. I know that there's people out there who've never had homemade bread. And that's a shame. So my partner, my ex-partner, doesn't really like bread when we got together. He's not a fan of bread. Felt like it was just filler bullshit. Ooh, look at this. See, this is steamy. I'm gonna open that fully then. Come here, look at this. I just went over here and saw that this was like steamed. See that? It's like that handprint scene in Titanic going on in there. So anyway, I don't want to rescue it all the way because I don't want it to dry out that much. But so I did open this all the way so that it'll not be steamy like that. You do not want the handprint scene in Titanic happening to your breads. So, there we go. Here's Becky's for the day. Looks pretty. Delish. To me. That's good. It's really flavorful for like what it is, but it's not dry or like gritty like a whole wheat one would be. There's like a slight crust, but it's really slight. It's not like cut inside of your mouth crust. This is good. I don't like that. It doesn't taste doughy, but it's definitely not like crumbly. Like, no, there's not like crumbs coming off of it. It was really nice. I mean, there's some like there's crumbs on the thing, on the cutting board where I cut it, but anyway. I'm gonna have the rest of my breakfast. Thank you for being here. Like, subscribe, let me know if you want me to fuck right off or make some more videos. So, thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.